Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another Minnesota Twins trade rumors video. This is my opinion on who I think the Twins should go pick up, and it's not just pitchers. I know that, we need a bullpen, okay? That's obviously out there. However, I do think I've got some sort of explanation for what I want to see happen. Again, I want to know your opinion on all of this, but today I have picked 5 guys who I think will help the team, get to the playoffs, make a good playoff push. And like I said, these are just my top 5 guys that I would like to see traded for, in the next week, because we're a week away from the trade deadline. But again, as I mentioned, I want to know your opinion on these 5 guys, as well as, who you think we should go pick up. I know that we've been talking about this the last couple of days, but now it's crunch time, so let's go. But the first trade I think we should make is for Trevor Bauer. And this is probably the least likely one. No, that's just kidding. The next 2 are the least likely to. But I don't think we're going to get Trevor Bauer, but I would really like to see him on the team. I was going to make a separate video about this. I might still, but I'll explain it right here. He has been a good pitcher on a very good Cleveland team the last couple of years. Since 2015, he's gotten 11 wins, 12 wins, 17 wins, 12 wins again. This season, he's 9-7. He's got the most innings, which, yes, could be a problem, but he's a workhorse. He's going to give you innings. He's got the most walks as well, but again, it comes with those innings that you're trying to get. And in the last couple of years, he was an all-star last year. He had the lowest home run per 9 in the league. He had the best FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, taking away the ballparks. You know how FIP works, I'm sure. So realistically, he is a guy that we could plug into our rotation. I think he has got the deadliest slider in the game. It is absolutely disgusting to right-handed batters, even left-handed batters. It's going to go to that back foot. I think if we ended up picking up Trevor Bauer, he could really help our rotation. And that would mean we move somebody from the rotation to the bullpen. I think Perez would be a very good option. I've mentioned this before, how he's been in the bullpen. He did okay at the beginning of the year, not great. He's done better as a starter, but I think he would be a guy who is expendable to put in the bullpen since he's been there before. He did okay. And he's a lefty, right? That's what's important is, yes, we're losing that lefty starter, but we're getting a guy in the bullpen. We have Lewis Thorpe as well. And that would be 3 guys in the bullpen that we could use lefty on lefty, for certain matchups or whatever. I think that by getting a starter, we don't necessarily need one, but if we were to go pick one up, it would definitely push, somebody into the bullpen, and I think Perez would be okay with that. Before we get on to the next guy, though, again, these are just quick rundowns. We can talk about it later in the comments and stuff, but I do think we're not okay in the bullpen, but we do have some guys that could really be good in the bullpen, like Thorpe, right? He did well in 2 nights ago against the Yankees. We have this Stashak guy who is fine. I mean, obviously he only pitched 1 game. He's probably going to have some tough outings if he goes again, but he looked good. He's got a good slider, kind of like a Trevor Bauer kind of guy. Not saying we would move him up, but it gives us options. These young guys, who would have thought that the young guys would be doing the best, right? Even Cole Stewart, again, wasn't really supposed to be in that situation anyways. But, he's going to give us innings just like all of these new guys are. So what do? I think an option would be to ship out some of these other guys, like Parker. I think teams want a Parker. There are guys out there who would take, Parker, maybe May, Duffy for sure. There are teams out there that would take these guys, and we could trade, straight up for them. So, do we want the younger guys going into the postseason? Probably not, but give them some more chances, right? I mean, why not? They've done okay. So, if we go and take Bauer, put Perez in the bullpen, it does give us 3 lefties if you count Thorpe and Rogers. But the next option would be with the Washington Nationals. I do think this one is probably the least likely to happen, but I say trade Anthony Rendon and Patrick Corbin or Strasburg. I don't think they would trade Strasburg, but one of those 2 guys and Anthony Rendon for Miguel Sano and whoever you want in the bullpen, prospects, whatever. I think I would be willing to give up, Nick Gordon. They need a second baseman. Also, I would be willing to trade Jonathan Schoop. I know that might come as a surprise, but there are so many options, I think, that could benefit both teams, right? So hear me out. If we trade Sano, Schoop, and maybe a prospect for Patrick Corbin, Anthony Rendon, and a prospect, or you go Schoop for Rendon, a couple of prospects, there's so many options. But I know I said Miguel Sano. It's because he's got such a high value. See, we're not going to trade Miguel Sano. Again, I want to put that out there. I'm getting on the bandwagon. I don't know if you can call it that, but I'm getting to like him, except for I know that he still strikes out a lot. That's undeniable. However, he has been doing good. Again, last night, saying it the day after he hits 2 home runs, and I'm admitting that. But there are teams that would want a guy strictly for power, like the Nationals, right? That's who Bryce Harper was. And Miguel Sano is a kind of player that could do that. Anthony Rendon, on the other hand, is a player who has a .316 average, who has over 100 hits this season. He's a third baseman. He could play second base. This is a guy who we could use all over the field. And he's been dominant the entire, 7 years that he has been in the league. He's been an all-star. He was MVP voting, Silver Slugger. He has been very good. And I think I don't know if it would be a straight trade, but, Anthony Rendon from Miguel Sano, I don't think that's a lose. I think both teams could benefit from that. Obviously, if we throw Patrick Corbin in there, that's another lefty pitcher. And well, there you go. I think that solves the problem, right? And if you don't want to get rid of Sano, throw Schoop in there. Schoop is a guy who I think, he's on his last year, but the Nationals need a second baseman. Dozier's not going to cut it, and I don't see why Jonathan Schoop couldn't be a guy we could send out, again, in his last year of free agency. There are so many options that I think could work, and I'm very excited about this, even though it will never happen. But Anthony Rendon and Patrick Corbin, 2 guys that we could really, really use. And we could get rid of, our bullpen pitchers, Miguel Sano, Jonathan Schoop, because those are players that the Nationals need. Again, they're in a playoff run. They probably won't trade. We won't trade, these guys, but it's definitely an option that I think they could look at, and I really like it. I want to know your opinions on it, but I think that's a really good idea. Next up is Will Smith. I've talked about this before. He is the go-to reliever I want. I really like him as a lefty. If you wanted to, go pick up a starter somewhere, that's fine. Put Perez in the bullpen. Pick up Will Smith. Now you've got 4 lefties. And if you want to, keep Perez in the starting rotation, you still got 3 lefties. You've got options again. But Will Smith, a very, very solid lefty out of the Giants bullpen, being the closer this year. Like I said, 24 saves, ERA under 2. The FIP is at 2.5. Very, very good. In a pitcher's ballpark. Coming to Minnesota would also be a pitcher's ballpark. He was an all-star this year. He is my guy that I really, really want. Will Smith, hands down, is the player that I think we should go out and get as a reliever. I know the Cardinals are talking about him because they really want lefty relievers, but man, if we could get Will Smith, that I think could really help our bullpen. And he's a guy we could trade Blake Parker out immediately for. I think, honestly, that could be a straight-up trade. Again, with the Giants being such a big ballpark, Parker could be beneficial there. However, Parker has struggled. Maybe we could trade Duffy for him. I don't know. I think there are a lot of options here with Will Smith again. But hey, we got to have some competition. We got to go out and spend the money for him because other teams have definitely shown interest. So it's going to be, what can you do? But I definitely like Will Smith. He's the guy I really, really want out of this trade deadline. Next up, and the final guy, is Kirby Yates. Now, I did not talk about him in a different video. I still might, but he has been absolutely amazing from the right side. So he is a guy out of the Padres bullpen. I think they'll sell him because the Padres have kind of tanked. I don't know what they're going to do with Manny Machado, Tatis. They're all young, but man, this is a guy who I think they could easily, get rid of for a couple of guys in our bullpen, straight up for Parker, maybe straight up for Duffy. Duffy's been good, very similar to Yates, but and maybe they want to get rid of, Nick Gordon or somebody. I don't know, but the point is, He's a guy who has been an all-star, who has a very successful year this year. Even though he's 0-2, he's got a whip of 1.05, 31 saves. It leads the league. We need a closer. Rogers is good, but is he going to cut it? He's been overused the last couple of days, blown 2 saves in the last week. Is he going to be reliable? I don't know. And then his FIP is, 1. His whip is under 0.9. It's at 0.81. This is a guy who we could really use. And he's a righty, yes. So if we had Rogers and Yates and then throw Will Smith in there, that is what I'm talking about. That is a 7, 8, 9 inning, get out of here. That's a win. I mean, yes, there's 2 lefties in that rotation, so you could match him up and then throw Duffy in there. If you want to go get another right-handed reliever, go do it. Because, again, what I'm talking about, we need guys who can go out there in the 7th every day, the 8th inning every day, and close it out in the 9th inning every day. We can't be putting Duffy in there in the 7th, then the 8th, then the 9th, then the 4th, then the 5th. He can't be doing something different every other day. He's got to be the designated 7th inning guy, the designated 8th inning guy, the designated closer. That's what we need, and these are 2 guys that could definitely help us out. They're 2 bullpen guys. We need bullpen help, and, if we want to go get the starter, great, because then we could add another left-handed arm. If you want to put Gibson in the bullpen, you can, and there's so many options here, but we need some different arms. It's not cutting it anymore. We need some help, but again, those are the 5 guys who I really think we could benefit from. Probably not going to get, Bauer or Rendon, but you know what? It's definitely worth, explaining. Hopefully you guys get my side of things and see my excitement and why I'm trying to explain this. But once again, I'll go through the 5 guys. Bauer, Anthony Rendon, Patrick Corbin, Will Smith, and Kirby Yates. That is Cleveland. Probably won't trade with Minnesota, but then Anthony Rendon and Patrick Corbin from the Giants, from the Nationals. They're in a playoff run. Probably won't get them, but Will Smith with the Giants, yes, they've been on a hot streak, but he's a guy that they could still trade and get something for. We could take him in. That's a very possible trade, and same with Kirby Yates. They're a struggling Padres team. They could really help us out. So hopefully we can make some trades here. Time is ticking. We need to stop losing games. But those are just my opinion. I want to know your guys' opinion on these 5 guys, who you think we should trade for, and so forth. But thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks again for sticking through these videos. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow.